Good evening, everyone. Welcome to NTD Tonight. I'm David Lam. Here are today's top stories. The Supreme Court allows cities to decide whether or not to ban homeless people from sleeping outside in public places. Independent Party candidate RFK Junior reacts to the first presidential debate of 2024. We'll also recap some of the highlights and biggest takeaways from last night's showdown between presidential candidates Biden and Trump. First up, the U.S. Supreme Court is allowing cities to decide whether or not to ban the homeless from sleeping outside in public places. The case is significant as a rising number of people in the U.S. are without a permanent place to live. Another major ruling from the Supreme Court today. It just ruled that cities can ban homeless people from sleeping outside in West Coast areas. The justices ruled 6-3 that Grants Pass, Oregon, can punish homeless people for sleeping outdoors on public property. They rejected the argument that the ban violates the Constitution's 8th Amendment, which bars cruel and unusual punishment. Grants Pass ordinances fine homeless people $295 for sleeping outside and issue exclusion orders barring them from public property. The city argues the policy is to limit homeless encampments. Homeless advocates argue that such a policy punishes people when they don't have any alternatives. The court issued a major ruling that related to the January 6th Capitol breach. It could potentially affect hundreds of defendants, including former President Trump. In a 6-3 decision, the justices sided with Joseph Fisher. He's a January 6th defendant who challenged his charge of obstructing an official proceeding. The court ruled that the charge must include proof that defendants tried to tamper with or destroy documents, which didn't apply in Fisher's case. The court's majority opinion says that reading the obstruction statute broadly, quote, would also criminalize a broad swath of prosaic conduct, exposing activists and lobbyists to decades in prison. About 350 January 6 defendants have been charged with obstruction, including former President Trump. The High Court will release more rulings next Monday, including on Trump's immunity case. That will be the last day of the court's current term. Now, someone who thinks he should have been a part of this conversation is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. The third-party candidate did not meet the official requirements to participate in CNN's debate. But that didn't deter him. On Thursday night in L.A., RFK Jr. held what he called the real debate. Standing next to a live stream of Biden and Trump, RFK Jr. delivered his own remarks on abortion, COVID, and why he thinks voters should choose him.
So I think that abortion should be the choice of a woman. Every abortion is a tragedy. Many women don't want to have abortions. Over half of them have them because they do not believe that they can care for that child for financial reasons. The area that they veered into, which is COVID management, this is another illustration about why this is so problematical, because these two presidents shut down every business in our country. 3.3 million businesses with no due process, no just compensation. The only thing they have, the only argument they have is be scared of that other guy. He's a felon, he's a bad guy, he's going to destroy the republic. They're running on fear. If Americans want to vote out of fear, they're going to vote for these guys. If they want to vote out.
Public school students in Oklahoma will now have lessons on the Bible and the 10 Commandments. That's according to a new order from the Education Department. Oklahoma's Superintendent of Public Instruction, Ryan Walters, said the Bible is one of the foundational documents of Western civilization. He said every 5th to 12th grade classroom in the state will now have a Bible, and teachers must use it during their lessons. He said the Bible is necessary to teach kids about the historical context and foundation of the United States. The order comes soon after a Louisiana law that requires public school classrooms to display the 10 Commandments. The main teachers' labor union in Oklahoma says Walter's order is unconstitutional. It said state law allows school districts to decide which books are available in their classrooms. The Oklahoma Education Association said teaching about the historical context of religion is permissible, but teaching religious doctrine is not. The first presidential debate of 2024 wrapped up last night, seemingly a rematch, but the landscape is so different from what it was 4 years ago. Here are some of the biggest takeaways.
Abortion, immigration, and the economy after COVID. Those are some of the big issues Thursday night as President Biden and former President Trump went head-to-head. This is the first presidential election since the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. Trump took credit for the decision, but also said he would respect the Supreme Court approval of the abortion pill. He also said he believes in exceptions to abortion bans.
Some people don't believe in that, but I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. I think it's very important. Some people don't. Follow your heart, but you have to get elected also.
Trump said what the Supreme Court has done is to bring abortion back into the hands of states. Biden's response:
"It's been a terrible thing, what you've done."
One concern for some Democrats was Biden's demeanor during the debate. He gave an uneven performance, halting several times mid-sentence and appearing to lose his train of thought. Prominent Democrats publicly questioned whether Biden could move forward after the debate. David Axelrod, a longtime advisor to former President Obama, told CNN he thinks panic has set in. On immigration, Biden said there are now fewer people crossing the southern border illegally than when Trump left office.
What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened, I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. It's better than when he left office.
We had the safest border in history. Now we have the worst border in history. There's never been anything like it, and people are dying all over the place.
On foreign policy, Trump criticized Biden on the 2021 withdrawal from Afghanistan. He said this showed people like Russia's President Vladimir Putin that Biden was weak. Trump questioned how much the U.S. is spending in aid to Ukraine. He said when he was president, Putin respected him.
The money that we're spending on this war, and we shouldn't be spending, it should have never happened. I will have that war settled between Putin and Zelensky as president-elect before I take office on January 20th. I'll have that war settled.
Biden defended U.S. support for Ukraine, saying Putin is a war criminal who has killed thousands of people.
Do you think he'll stop when if he takes Ukraine? What do you think happens to Poland? What do you think of Belarus? What do you think happens to those NATO countries?
Biden also spoke about his plan for a ceasefire in Gaza. He was adamant that the U.S. continued to support Israel, but said it had to be careful about how weapons were being used in populated areas. Trump dismissed the idea of a ceasefire and said Israel should be allowed to go in and finish the job. CNN's Jake Tapper asked Biden what he plans to do about Social Security. He said in its current state, benefits to seniors are set to be cut in 10 years. Biden suggested raising taxes for millionaires to fund Social Security. When asked if there was anything else he needed to do, Biden said this is enough to keep Social Security solvent. It was inevitable that January 6th would be brought up. Biden said Trump was responsible for what happened and said convicted rioters need to remain in jail. When asked what he says to voters who believe he violated his oath to defend the Constitution on January 6th, Trump said he didn't think too many believe that and pivoted to talking about immigration once again.
And let me tell you about January 6th. On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few.
When asked if he would accept the results of this election, Trump said, if it is fair and legal, absolutely.
I would have much rather accepted these, but the fraud and everything else was ridiculous.
A theme that ran throughout the debate, Trump saying Biden was destroying the country, and Biden saying a Trump victory would be a disaster. The night ended without a handshake. A CNN poll taken after the debate showed Trump outperforming Biden 67% to 33%. Biden's final words, a promise to fight inflation and give people a break. And Trump's, a reiteration of his campaign slogan, we're going to make America great again.
President Biden is not dropping out of the 2024 race, according to campaign officials, despite what some are calling a shaky debate performance. Trump's supporters claim victory, while Biden's backers argue he won on substance. NTD's Daniel Monahan reports on the reactions.
Republican Congresswoman Elise Stefanik called Trump's performance an overwhelming win on the debate stage.
President Trump is focused on not only winning this November, but bringing success to the American people, returning to the effective policies that we saw under President Trump's first term, securing the border, unleashing American energy independence, standing up for hardworking families who have been crushed by Joe Biden's inflation.
Republican Senator Marco Rubio said there were times he couldn't understand what Biden was saying.
I also worry about who's actually calling the shots in the White House. It's hard to believe that the man I saw on stage tonight, and look, I didn't serve with Joe Biden in the Senate, okay? But I was around when he was vice president. I even watched a video today of 4 years ago to today. I mean, it's just painfully obvious. I don't want to be cruel about it. It's just the reality.
Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett says it's the issues that matter.
We have somebody that is bragging about the fact that he took Roe v. Wade away from us, whereas we know the next step. They've gone after mifepristone. They want to go after contraception.
Senator Raphael Warnock accused Trump of playing favorites with those in the upper income bracket.
That's why he passed a tax cut that went to the richest of the rich on the backs of ordinary working class poor people, middle class people.
Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz said the president didn't look like a man in command of the country, his own campaign, or the debate.
This is after Joe Biden retreated to a log cabin in the woods for a week to get constantly drilled. Meanwhile, President Trump was out on the road campaigning in swing states.
California Governor Gavin Newsom downplayed the importance of Biden's performance on the debate stage.
I'm old-fashioned. I'm an old-fashioned guy. I'm not looking for a performer. I'm looking for someone that can deliver results for the American people.
President Biden will kick off his post-debate campaign rally in Raleigh, North Carolina on Friday, with celebrities Fat Joe and E40 performing. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
We'll take a short break now, everybody, but here's a look at what we have for you when we come right back. Solar glass windows that generate power and reduce heat. See what one company brought to Silicon Valley. Could California soon see electric air taxis? One company is trying to revolutionize the way people move from city to city. Nearly a year after the Lahaina wildfire disaster, authorities point to progress and more work ahead. Those stories and more coming up on NTD Tonight. Welcome back to NTD Tonight. I'm your host, David Lamb. One company is showcasing solar glass windows that generate power and reduce heat. They're built for commercial building facades, which are the exterior walls of a building. The Australia-based company recently announced its San Jose location as its headquarters. And earlier today, I took a look in Silicon Valley with Clearview. Today I'm here with Chuck Mauri, President and CEO of Clearview of the North America Division. Thank you so much for joining us, Chuck.
Yeah.
So tell me about this mock-up and this solar glass. How does it work?
Yeah, David, John, thanks for coming. We're really excited. This is our Clearview insulating glass. This is our Clearview insulating solar glass that generates solar power. However, it's vision glass you can see in and out of. And this is our Clearview spandrel glass that's for opaque areas of facades. You can't see through it, and it generates more power. And we're here today at Royal Glass, where they fabricated an aluminum curtain wall. This fan is only connected to the power being generated by the cells at the perimeter of the vision light. When I turn that on, I'm running a fan. The bottom light is spandrel for areas of the building that you don't need to see through from the inside, and you don't want to see the floor or the columns of the building. Obviously, we're more coverage of solar and much more efficient. And these fans obviously run quite a bit more.
Yeah, more power.
And you can tell if you do block some of the sun, if I stand in front of it, the fans are running a little less. They're still running. But the ideal scenario is the part of the day where you have full sunlight is running louder and faster than if you would have plugged it into a wall. So it's generating a fair amount of power.
So how does this compare to traditional solar panels that are on the roof?
If you want to be net zero, if the building owners truly want to generate power for their building use, there's only so much room on a rooftop of a building to put those types of solar panels, and there's only so much room on the carports. when you do that, you still haven't generated all the power you need. So at some point, our belief and our hope at Clearview is you have to use the facades of buildings, especially the south, the east, the north, or the west and the north. North maybe not, but this is a system that can go on the facade of your building.
And why is Clearview making San Jose its headquarters?
Yeah, San Jose's, I think it's number 6 in the ranking the greenest cities in America. Matt Mahan, the mayor, he's a new mayor. He campaigned on green and clean. He's trying to make the city green. And so he was at our grand opening last week, and we turned the fans on, and he couldn't believe it. So he now knows this technology is available, and San Jose, the technology, and it's the Silicon Valley. So if you're going to start a new tech company, it's not computers or anything, but I mean, this is not a bad area to draw employees from. That we need technical employees, we need electricians, electrical engineers, people with solar experience.
Thank you so much for giving us a clear window into solar glass.
Yeah, Dave, thank you for coming. John, thank you.
A California company is seeking to revolutionize the way people move from city to city. Their plan is electric air taxis, and their goal is to cut down the travel time across the most congested cities in the world. Helen Billings tells us more.
Archer Aviation, a Silicon Valley-based electric air taxi company, announced plans to connect 5 Bay Area locations with their taxi service as early as 2025. According to a press release, they plan to anchor their network in South San Francisco at Oyster Point and provide flights to Napa, San Jose, Oakland, and Livermore. Archer Aviation says that the air taxi could replace 1 to 2 hour drives with 10 to 20-minute flights and be cost competitive with ground transportation. Their electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft named Midnight can carry 4 passengers plus a pilot and is designed to perform back-to-back flights with a charging time of about 10 minutes. So far, Archer has received Part 135 Air Carrier and Operator and Part 145 Maintenance and Repair certificates from the FAA and are in progress to achieve their Type Certificate certifying airworthiness of their aircraft. Archer's Chief Regulatory Affairs Officer, Billy Nolan, said in a press release, quote, "Midnight is one giant step closer to taking passengers into the sky in the coming years in the U.S. The final airworthiness criteria for Midnight is an important step on our journey to make electric flying taxis an everyday reality." Additionally, Archer has partnered with United Airlines, which has placed a $1.5 billion order for hundreds of their aircraft, with plans to operate at over 200 airports across the U.S. and globally, including New York, Los Angeles, the San Francisco Bay Area, and Texas. They have also partnered with the car manufacturer Stellantis to build a facility in Georgia to produce up to 650 aircraft annually. The site is on track to be finished later this year. Helen Billings, NTD News.
Maui officials are showcasing rebuilding efforts nearly a year after a deadly wildfire devastated Lahaina. NTD's Christina Corona has more on the story.
The wind-driven wildfires on Maui destroyed over 22 structures and claimed 102 lives in Lahaina on August 8, 2023. The wildfire caused about $5.5 billion in damages, making it the deadliest in the U.S. in over a century. Although nearly a year has passed, rebuilding Lahaina will be a long and complex process.
We are ahead of schedule on both, and we anticipate being meaningfully done with residential commercial in a few months. There's about 1,400 residential properties and 159 commercial properties that are part of our portfolio. We are working very hard to get those cleared.
One resident is shocked by the progress so far.
Initially, everybody thought it was going to be like 5 years. The only sadness I have is that this neighborhood will never be the same.
Maui Mayor Richard Bisson wants residents to know they are not focused on the speed of rebuilding.
We're focused on making sure we can get people back to their homes in a safe way as quickly as possible, but we have to be focusing on the safety, and I guess that's what I want people to see.
Residential building permits have been issued and construction has begun for several residents.
So the permits for what will be the swimming pool, the walls, and the main house were still open. The city never ever closed them, so it made it very easy for me to get my permits again.
And even a 151-year-old banyan tree on Front Street is showing new growth.
As of 2 months ago, the tree just celebrated its 151st birthday. We're just so glad and blessed that the tree survived the fire. But there will definitely be some scars.
It's uncertain when those displaced by the fire can return or if they will be able to afford it. So far, the county has approved 23 residential building permits with 70 more under review. Christina Corona, NTD News.
Stay tuned for China in Focus with Tiffany Meyer coming up next. Zooming in on 2024's first presidential debate. Despite rising tensions between the US and China, the two candidates didn't address China much except for tariffs and trade deficit. We fact-checked their claims. More on China in Focus with Tiffany Meyer at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. And that's all we've got for you tonight. We'd like you to join us again on NTD Tonight every weekday at 9 p.m. I'm David Lamb. That's our program. Have a wonderful weekend.